for Paris. Big talent, Bashir Abdi. And perhaps the favourites here in a couple of Kenyans, and Timothy Kiplagat, runner-up at the very quick Tokyo Marathon this year behind his fellow countryman Benson Kipruto, who we'll see in a moment. Kiplagat is reserve for the Kenyan Olympic team. So there is Benson Kipruto here. Only 4 men have ever run a faster marathon than Benson Kipruto after his effort in Tokyo at the start of March. He won there in 2:02:16. Astonishingly quick. He'll make his debut in a Kenya vest in Paris. Also a former winner of the Chicago Marathon. So again, watch the flying start here over the first kilometre. Benson Kipruto looking around, not sure what for, waiting for that gun. Narrow start as well, so a few elbows being sharpened as they get underway, but they'll quickly space out with those most elite of the elite men at the front, the pace they go off at. Slightly down. You've just got to be careful. There's Adel Mashal as well. Very familiar figure from the track, Paula. Interested to see how he runs today.
Yes, dropping up, moving up from 1,500 metres that he raced in Rabat and, Marrakesh now, isn't it? And also Doha, so he's coming absolutely from the track in with that speed, and maybe that's why you see him react so well off the start line and then just settle back and check it back a little bit as we look at the impressive queues lining up and waiting to get their chance out there on this course.
And this is one of the broader streets here, Portland Street there. That's why they have it here rather than some of the more narrow confines of the parallel streets. So they start there and you can see them just shuffling forward, waiting their turn before they stretch out and get going. You get a gun time, you get a chip time, which is more important because they're going to sound in some time before you'll get across the start line. But Bashir Abdi out in front, and we talk about his talent, and you know his husband Gary is his coach as well. So what are we expecting from Bashir Abdi? He's been a great talent for a long time.
He has, and he's a great guy as well, and it's great to see him bouncing back from that timeout forced on you through injury. I think sometimes it's extremely frustrating, and he was planning on being able to run the Tokyo Marathon, wasn't able to go and do that because of the injury, and has had to sit that out, let that heal, and then get back into training. And not always a bad thing, that I think, in Olympic year, just to allow yourself to come into it a little bit fresher. This is absolutely just a gauge to see what kind of form he's in. He's been training with training partner Sultan Hassan out in Ethiopia. He's also in this race. Also selected for that marathon in Paris for Sweden, and I think we saw a little bit of that frustration coming out there at the beginning, and Bashir just getting out there and just happy to be back out racing and now settling in this pack. In contrast to the women's, I don't think we'll see them have started out quite as quickly relatively and taking a little bit more time just to look around and assess.
Just some familiar domestic figures you might have seen in there. Johnny Mellor, Dewi Griffith in there in the pack, which is a bigger pack. You see the start is very different to the start of the women's race, which was very stretched out. 4 athletes going clear early on, but here Getich out front just ahead of the Australian Rayner, but apart from that it is still a very big group, so I think a few more contenders, and we'll have to wait some time before things stretch out in the men's race. But the women's race, we're getting very deep into things. There we are, right on cue, passing the 6K mark, and it's still those two, Bariso and Gebrselassie, out in front. But that gap back to Kali Hauger-Thackeray hasn't extended, really.
No, she's holding on very well. I think they have slightly slowed down. Through 5K, it was 15:09. And there we go, through 6K in 18:15. So that is a 3:06K. So they are slowing as well, which is helping Calais, but undoubtedly just to maintain them in eye shot and just to be able to keep focused on the back of their backs will be helping Calais. And now the challenge is laid down from Gebrselassie, who has sat for 6 kilometres behind Bariso and let her do all the work. Can Bariso respond?
That camera angle there on the bike just showed Gebrselassie just hitting the accelerator fraction again, just stretching it out, and just that forward lean, and suddenly that gap back to Kali Hauger-Thackeray. Now, when you are alongside someone who makes that move, you know instantly that move has been made. But when you're 20-30 meters behind, you can't tell immediately, but you then notice the vest just creeping away from you. You go, oh, they've hit the accelerator here.
Yeah, she will notice that. And then we see here Lauren McNeil and Clara Evans have done a great job in catching Betsy Siner. I'm just trying to work out, I think that's Lily Partridge behind, who has just come around the corner further back down the road. So they've worked really well together to reel in Betsy Siner, who unfortunately is not having a great day out there today.
Well, Betsy Siner, I mean, she's had a few races in the past where it's been a bit of a struggle. I remember the US Olympic marathon trial, she 22 miles, she was really affected by the humidity there and knew that, but we talked about Gabri Selassie hitting the accelerator there, and even Bariso has felt that. So Gabri Selassie has made the break just after the 6K mark. Will it be a telling one?
She just looks so easy, doesn't she? I think hugely contrasting styles between the two Ethiopian athletes here. Bariso, a lot more arm movement and looks to be working a lot harder, whereas Gabri Selassie just very, very quick cadence and just keeping focused on the road, and with that really relaxed facial expression, which can be deceptive. She can be working really, really hard underneath that, and it's very characteristic of a lot of the top Ethiopian women, those eyes down focus, because they spend so much time running on those narrow trails up at Ntoto, just focusing on the tree roots ahead of them and making sure to avoid those. But what the upshot of this does mean for Callie Thackeray is that she can focus on Bariso ahead of her. Bariso has had a little bit of a kick in the belly, metaphorically, in terms of the fact that Gabri Selassie has moved away from her so easily, and now can Callie focus on that and give it extra energy to her as if she can reel her in slightly.
You can see they passed an 11-mile marker because this course is shared with the second half of the half marathon course. And the half marathon was won by Crawley's James Westlake, and Eleanor Barker from Barnsley took the women's race. So that finished some time ago. It was a very early start for the half marathon. But there we are, that's a big group of about 15 athletes or so in the men's 10K. So again, a very different style to the men's 10K, because Gabri Selassie is surely heading for victory in the women's race. But very interesting to see if Callie Hauger-Thackeray can catch Bariso. But here we are. We talk about Kipruto and his talent, and alongside Rainer and Mashal, but different runners here. Mashal, a familiar figure, 1500, is 3,000, 5,000 meter runner, moving up to 10K here. Kipruto, one of the very finest marathon runners we've seen. Actually, he's a heavier looking build, all relatively speaking. It's a heavier looking build than a lot of marathon runners, Kipruto, but he has a huge engine on him, and he's bouncing along quite happily alongside the man from Melbourne.
Just settling in behind, I was looking for the early leader, Ngatic. I think he is just obscured by Jack Rayner at the moment, but is still in that group. He was keen to get the pace moving early on, but has settled back down now.
So you can see the dual carriageway and the out and back, effectively out and back nature of the course means that as the men head out, they will catch a glimpse of the women's leaders coming the other way, because they've just passed the 8K mark going the other way. Tall upright figure of Johnny Mellor on the far side again. There's the very different form of Dewi Griffiths, but again you might well be aware of these athletes if you watch regular coverage. Very good, I'll say domestic athletes, but an international class as well. And Emil Carres, who really has established himself as one of the world's finest marathon runners, right in the middle.
Yeah, and a sprint for Emil today in contrast to that marathon, but he does have the pedigree over 10K. Just quickly, they were through 2K in 5:35.
So there we are. There is the solitary figure now of Gabri Selassie coming the other way past that group of about 12 to 15 athletes in the men's race, and that's a huge gap she's suddenly opened up now. So no doubt about who's going to win this, barring some mishap. And there's someone very happy with his performance in the half marathon as well, but that's a big gap. And she's just not quite having a look all the way back to see if she's clear, but just a casual look over her shoulder. But you're right, that gap from second from Bariso back to Callie Hauger-Thackeray remains about the same, but Thackeray can certainly work off that orange vest of Bariso.
Yeah, I think at the last count it was about 6 seconds. It's really hard to tell with the long camera lens and try and work it out from there, but through 7K it was just about 8 seconds. That gap seems to have grown now I think, significantly beyond that. And there you see the kilometre splits going through the bottom of the screen. So slower 6 kilometre, and then she's picked it back up again now, and that is just through 8k there. So we should get that split slightly, and it's a nice welcome feeling when you're in 2k to go and you see that 8 kilometre marker. And yes, you know, it's a slight pull uphill for her, but she's broken away, and I think those consistent looks over her shoulder will be just reinforcing. And there from that shot, without a doubt, Callie Hauger-Thackeray is closing on Berizzo as quickly as that gap is growing forward to Gebrselassie.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to be able to work off that figure in front of her. Callie Hauger-Thackeray, and Berizzo looks to be labouring just a little bit. She always makes it look slightly harder work than Gebrselassie anyway, Berizzo, but you can see this is hard now. And can Callie Hauger-Thackeray use that, I say that engine, that capability for suffering that she has in the marathon, to just work off that and close in on Berizzo. Again, it's just staying at that distance at the moment, and it's a tough finish to this 10k. Again, it just starts to ramp up slightly. Now they're into that final 2k, that it's a subtle gradient, and it ramps up right at the very end, but it takes its toll on you.
It does, and it's not a tough course, but it's not as easy a course as the course where Callie Hauger-Thackeray ran her PB in Trafford, and that was 31:12. So when you say she went through halfway in just outside of 15:10, then she's certainly running on tired sore legs at this point, and it is about just trying to focus them as much as possible. And yes, the new shoes help with that, and yes, certainly it will help that she's really in Berizzo, but Berizzo also has that strength in her legs, and so it's an interesting, tantalizing battle that's setting itself up there.
So the men are just about getting out to Old Trafford now as well. I think of 10Ks as being, a lot of us casual runners think of 10Ks as being a good old distance, but really it just flies by for these figures. You think of Gebrselassie into the final K now, and that's just a short sprint to home for her. But this is a very interesting race here, the men's race, because just that bigger group, and yes, a few are splintering off the back now and dropping down to a group of about 10 here. But I just wonder who will be the first to make a move.
Yeah, it's not really, it's certainly not been quick so far. In contrast to the women's, I think we are going to see negative splits in this race, so they're going to start racing, and we're going to start seeing significantly faster kilometre splits. You can see Ngatic and Reina are starting to pick the pace up now, and you can tell that by the fact that people are starting to splinter off, and certainly from that big pack that you could have almost thrown that proverbial blanket over, now it is more spread out. There's no need to shelter today because there is no real wind out there. It is just about not wanting to go too soon. I think a lot more caginess on the men's side today.
I suppose one of the key things about running in a 10k here, Paula, is that you have an idea about how fast you can run, but you have to adapt your plan according to how you feel, according to how many athletes are around there, according to how the pace, and they'll all be thinking at the moment, won't they, about where exactly they might start to push, or is it just reacting to others around you all the time?
I think there's reacting, and then there's knowing your own race plan. And if you look at somebody like Gothitam Gebrselassie, she absolutely ran her own perfect race here today. She was happy to have the pace dictated and to have somebody try and run away from her in the early stages. And there we go. Look at this. That was the absolute classic textbook way to do it from Callie Hauger-Thackeray. When you go past someone, you blow straight past them. You don't wait. You don't hang around. You don't give them any chance to latch onto you. And that will have given her such a boost. And now, if she can just hold this last kilometre, because it's not yet over, you can see Berizzo trying to tack in behind her, but she really needs to maintain and focus as much as she can on the road ahead of her, because this is an excellent run from Callie Hauger-Thackeray.
Well, it must be quite something when you're coming home in the half marathon and perhaps just trotting home and you see these athletes coming past you, just that you realise the pace they're going at, because sometimes when we're following on a bike or following from overhead, you don't quite get an idea of the speed of them. And Gebrselassie with that easy style now, and it really is into the closing stages now. You can almost hear the music start to swell that is pumping out from the finish line at Deansgate, and you see the pain and discomfort. She makes it look easy, but at whatever level, if you're going to the maximum of your abilities, it hurts, Paula.
It definitely hurts, and we can see that in the splits coming in, and you can see there is more of a frown, there is more hurt happening in the body of Gothitam Gebrselassie at this point, but she doesn't really care because she can see almost that finish ahead of her. She's probably not got much more than a minute left of running, so she's inside the last 400 metres or so, or should be approaching that fairly soon, up ahead of her. And if I tell you the splits for Callie Hauger-Thackeray, look how far she's taken out of Brisa already, but her 9th K split did drop back to 3:13, so she's undoubtedly paying. They're all slowing, and it's just who's slowing the least and who's able to hold it together.
It's a wonderful run from Callie Hauger-Thackeray. I mentioned her PB set in the Trafford 10K, which is a faster course. It's a flatter course, head out to the southwest of the city here, but she is between two marathon world champions, the last two marathon world champions, Gabra Selassie away and clear, and going to win this and become the first Ethiopian winner of this event since the great Tirunesh Dibaba in 2018. Since then, Kenya have dominated through one woman, and Helen Obiri winning 3 of the last 4. Ailish McColgan winning in 2021, but it is going to be an Ethiopian winner again here, and just shown the way here, picking her way through the half-marathon finishers up the slope on the damp road and into Deansgate and towards the finish line, and trying to pick up the pace as well. A grimace turning into a grin as she comes to the finish line, and she will take victory in the women's 10K here, the great Manchester run through the tape, and a quick time as well. Such an impressive run and such an impressive winning margin, as we cannot see behind her Callie Hauger-Thackeray yet in second place. That's a dominant win from Gabra Selassie.
It was, and here comes Callie Hauger-Thackeray now. So she's in the home straight. Her personal best is 31:12. Come on, Callie.
Well, 31:12 on that very quick course, the Trafford course, and she is going to beat it, trying to get below 31 as well, which I think she just did. That's a wonderful run from Callie Hauger-Thackeray. Again, the marathon is where her present or future lies. She'll be there in Paris. Bariso coming across the line looking very, very tired indeed. But Callie Hauger-Thackeray, that was such a boost for her confidence as well, in terms of, as I say, finishing between the last two marathon world champions. She knows she belongs with the elite now.
She absolutely does, and I think there are so many positives that she can draw from that race today, because she could have run that in an easier way and perhaps come out of it with a faster time. They did go off very, very quickly, and they were certainly paying for that in the closing stages, but she handled that and she was able to rally, and she's beaten some really good big names behind her, in the likes of Betsy Saina, who we've yet to see come in, and Amani Bariso. These are competitors that she would maybe not figure on competing with as we watch this battle now, coming in for fourth place.
Well, a bit of a drive put on as Betsy Saina trying to hold off Clara Evans, and Evans really is driving. I think she has got it on the line, she has. Good run, you see the clock going through 32:09, so just outside her PB, Clara Evans, and so much of the work done by Lauren McNeil as well.
Yeah, and Clara and Lauren had both worked together to get ahead of Betsy Saina, but she just had enough in reserve to get back ahead of them. You can see Thomas coming in, and behind her Lily Partridge.
Yeah, Juliette Thomas, a Belgian athlete, and Rose Harvey, and Lily Partridge across the line. It's Harvey, in fact, just behind Lily Partridge. I say it is just that tough finish to this course, because it's subtle, but it's just slightly uphill, and you can see it really takes it out of Harvey. Just pumping those arms as much as anything else, just under 33 minutes. And actually her PB is 32:50. I think she's just about right on that. Again, Rose Harvey, but again, looking forward to the marathon. There's so many of the athletes here are, whether it's the Paris Olympics or whether it's other marathon challenges later in the year, but having a go at the 10K here. So Rose Harvey, one of the British athletes coming home, and significantly in the men's race, and Getich has made his move, and that group, which was really tightly bunched together of about 10 athletes, has been utterly broken apart.
Yeah, and we said early on that Getich was champing at the bit a little bit and really wanting to get going and get this pace moving along. And now I think at this stage he's really had enough, and he's decided, okay, the pace has to pick up significantly. I think through the 6K it was 2:43, but it looks as though they're moving faster than that now. Jack Rayner behind, and that's Bashir Abdi slotted just behind him as well.
Well, there was only so much space for so many call forwards at the start, and that's why we didn't see Getich. But Vincent Getich, who's third of the Tokyo Marathon, what's that, back at the start of March now, And well, he was second in Berlin last year in the marathon. So again, it's just such a lovely running style that Ngedic has, and he's put 20 meters into Jack Rayner behind. And there's still a few athletes together. Bashir Abdi is there as well. But then again, that's long lens camera. It doesn't quite show you that then there's another 10 meters or so back to 4th place. So I think this might prove to be a significant move made by Vincent Ngedic. Just coming out to the 7k mark as well. And again, once you're into the final 3 kilometers, and these men are, they put in however many miles, 120 miles a week or so, and they're used to running marathons. And 3 kilometers is, when I said 120 miles a week, apologies, they made the higher gesture.
Up a bit, up a bit.
Okay, 120 miles by Thursday. How many miles did you do a week at your...
Well, mine were added up, like based on roughly what pace I thought I was doing, because then the technology wasn't really there to measure it perfectly and exactly. And I worked on an 8-day cycle as well, so I'd have 7 days of running and then a rest day. So my 7 days of running would add up to around about 130 at the peak.
130?
Yeah, and that was pre-shoes where they can recover much faster. So I'm guessing that's why I'm saying up, because these men, I think, are running significantly bigger volumes than that, because now they can, and they can recover quicker.
Yeah, I think that is the key point about the shoes. And we talk about the shoes and the pace. They go, you've got to be so careful in that corner there, honestly. That's a tight, almost hairpin bend coming down the slope as well. Can easily come a cropper. But what the shoes do is they do enable you to train and recover more quickly, because the damage isn't quite being made to the tissue, and so you can put in higher mileage. So that all adds up. There's just a few kinks in this course, but now you see Ngedic is just making it onto the dual carriageway and back, so now it's pretty much straight all the way back up to Deansgate, and he can start to fly. But again, a beautiful running action.
Yeah, he's really running freely now, isn't he? And from that overhead shot, you could see just how big that gap was back to Rayner and Bashir Abdi running together. You can see them in the background there, but that's significantly foreshortened in that shot, and I would say the gap is probably at least 6 or 7 seconds now.
Just look at the splits there they were going through. You saw them all there, a lot of them in low 240. So 248 would be, that's a 28 minutes 10k. Just
yeah, if I tell
maths.
you 245s is 27.50, and 27 flat would be 240 Ks. So yeah, he's definitely picked it up into quick running now. And when you might not think it's a big jump when they've gone from running 250 kilometers to 245, but when you've kind of settled into that rhythm, it's actually hard to pick it up, and particularly as he did so on the parts of the course where there were small inclines in there as well. So to be able to get your legs out of a rhythm they've settled into and settle quickly into a quicker one, he's done it really, really well, and you can see behind the damage that it's done to the rest of the 7 seconds now.
Just look at the splits
there
that were going through. You saw them all there, a lot of them in low 240. So 248 would be far more than just the elite runners, because there are various waves of all the, I say fun runners. It is fun, it's enjoyable, but everyone's chasing a quick time as well for their own personal challenges, and so many running for so many different charities. And we'll get into that in greater depth later on, but once we have seen the finish of the men's elite race, and at the moment, as Gabri Selassie started to dominate the women's race, so Ngedic is starting to dominate the men's race. But for second and third, Jack Rayner and Bashir Abdi. And Bashir Abdi, again, we talk about his quality, and I remember him as a lot of people. Oh, Jack Rayner's just checking what are they looking for, looking to see if anyone else is there, looking to see who's there. Oh, it's Bashir Abdi. I might be in a bit of trouble here. Abdi's starting to look far more comfortable than Jack Rayner is.
Just there. I'm not sure if it was also that perhaps he felt that Bashir Abdi was clipping his heels a little bit, and that's why he looked back as if to say, like, mate, if we're going to be here, we're going to work together a little bit. We're not going to sit behind each other. And I think a huge contrast in style, but that is the kind of every emotion is displayed on the face of Jack Rayner when he's racing, and you can see he's working hard, and you can see he was not happy about doing all of the work there. And so Bashir Abdi recognising that and moving just slightly ahead of him, and both of them significantly looking to be working harder than this man Vincent Ngedic, who now really has this race kind of sewn up. He just needs to see how fast he can run, and he will be using this race as a gauge as well, and perhaps came in with that race plan, just let the first 2 or 3 kilometers settle and then kick on from there and just see how fast can he run.
For those of us who do run 5Ks, 10Ks, and you know how hard it is when you're going to your maximum, when you watch Ngedic seems to be strolling along there and so easily, and I've talked about it in the women's race, it's a bit of an illusion. He is still suffering, and
Yeah, he almost shook his head then as if to say, no, not really, I've got this easy.
No, he's not
But no, he is definitely working hard. You can see how he's trying to just focus and keep his lower jaw relaxed and focus just on his arm carriage, because by keeping your arms relaxed and moving, then that keeps your legs going in that same rhythm as well. And as I say, the marathon runners are so good at that, because that is the skill of marathon running. When everything is tired and falling apart, you've got to maintain the rhythm. And yes, here's a faster rhythm, but it's much shorter distance as well. So translate that down a little bit. It's almost like he's coming in, when he gets into the last 2 kilometers, that one might be the last 10K of the marathon.
that's interesting. It's when you think about it, everybody has their own running style, but if you can just keep things as relaxed as possible, then obviously it's going to make it easier, which again is easier said than done, Jack Rayner, at the moment, because he wears his effort on his face a bit more visibly than Bashir Abdi. And Bashir Abdi coming back from that stress fracture of, I think it was his lower back, was it his sacrum in there? But that's the toll just of running. And as you said, when you have a stress fracture, it's almost your body saying it's time to rest.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of those things where there are very little things that you can continue to do. You might be able to do a little of work in the water. With a sacral stress fracture, you can't even replace with ellipticals for a while. You have to just let it settle, but it does reinforce again. And for so many athletes, when you have time forced out through injury, when you're able to get back to racing, you are just really happy to be out there and to relish that it is a privilege actually to be able to make this your career. And yes, they're working very hard, and 800 meters to go now for Ngatić, and he is running quickly now, and you can see that lower jaw moving forward a little bit. Without a doubt, he's putting every last effort into this now.
Yeah, for the first time really you see the teeth, you see that almost grimace on his face. And again, you're just pushing slightly uphill, and Rayner's now starting to look around and say, I think it's Adel Mashal behind. And when you see an athlete in front of you looking behind, Adel Mashal is closing, and he's closing pretty fast here, Paula.
He is, and I tell you, if you want an athlete to be in a sprint finish with, it probably wouldn't be Mashal. So one of these two probably needs to clock or just get the information from someone that it is Mashal that's chasing them down. I think had it been Keres, and there you see Bashir Abdi look behind, he's thinking, okay, I'm not hanging around with you anymore now. I'm going, because I might think I can outkick Jack Rayner. I'm not sure I can outkick Adel Mashal.
No, I think Rayner is doomed, and there's a man who's run this year 27:09 for a 10, but Bashir Abdi is starting to make his move, and he looks a good deal more comfortable than Jack Rayner. And back to the front, Vincent Ngatić. Well, we haven't had a Kenyan winner. It sounds remarkable. I haven't had a Kenyan winner of the men's race here since Stephen Sambu back in 2015. Faniel, the Italian, won it last year, but in Ngatić there's a big gap to second place. And now you can see how hard it has been and the toll that it's taken, trying to relax, trying to keep those arms moving freely, pulling up under the rail bridge. And when you come under that bridge, you know how close you're getting to the finish. Now Mashal is closing, but that gap is still big enough, I think, for Jack Rayner if he can dig in here, and he's starting to push Jack Rayner.
I think these two are both pushing together. Mashal has run a really fast last kilometre, so he's exactly on the same pace as Ngatić now, 2:44 through that last kilometre, and I think that's what the other two have realised. As we go back to Ngatić now, he can see the finish, he's got this all wrapped up.
It was Ethiopia in the women's race, it will be Kenya in the men's. It will be Vincent Ngatić who celebrates and points and raises those arms, and the time was at 27:26 or so across the line. That is,
I think he just missed, or may have just equalled the course record in Togo, which goes back to 07 as far as I can look at.
Well, kudos to Jack Rayner for digging in and driving behind him. Mashal is trying to get to Abdi. I think Abdi will just about hold on. Difficult to see in that angle, would have been close, but well done Jack Rayner in holding on for second place there, because it looked like he was suffering and slipping back. Keres coming through just ahead of Mons, so his challenge lies in the marathon in Paris. A 10K, it's funny when you drop down from the marathon, when you're used to that longer run, to try and lift it for the pace of the 10,000 meters. Emil Keres really has felt that here. And there is Benson Kipruto, expected just a little bit better from Kipruto, and Dewi Griffiths just behind Kipruto. But Emil Keres, you can see the effort he's put in today. But Vincent Ngatić, we're trying to get an official time, see if he has broken the course record there.
I think it was very close to it, but that was a personal best for Dewi Griffiths that we just saw come in, I'm pretty sure. And it was Mazenot Geremi, who is on the long road back from injury and a fair ways from regaining his top form of old. Johnny Miller.
Yeah, Johnny Miller across the line as well. Well, that was so impressive from Vincent N'Getich. And I would say too Jack Rayner, because he really had to show some grit there. It looked to be slipping away from him in terms of podium places, because Adel Mashal was closing. Bashir Abdi was looking good, but actually Jack Rayner had enough. It's Emil Carres there in 5th place. As we go down a few more. Dewi Griffiths, good 10th place to get a PB. And again, anybody coming in under 30 minutes. Just mere mortals. And it's something very, very special indeed. But Vincent N'Getich, well, the quality and depth that, of course, Kenya, Ethiopia continue to have and continue to show. And Vincent N'Getich coming through to take that in a very, very quick time. Actually running negative splits. Mark Butler just showing 13:54 for the first 5K, 13:31 for the second 5K. My goodness, it's a different world. Vincent N'Getich ahead of Rayner and Abdi. They are the 1, 2, 3 in the men's race.
You're absolutely right, Andrew. The pace of these 10K elite runners as they whiz past us here to the finish is just absolutely startling. I think we can all kind of imagine, we can't necessarily imagine running a marathon, but you can imagine running 10K. I certainly don't run it like that. Just like this woman alongside me did earlier, as of course the women's elite winner, Gotoitum Gebrselassie, is here looking very, very fresh indeed. How did you enjoy that out on the streets of Manchester?
Yeah, first of all, I thank you for organizer. I invited me. I'm very happy today. I'm win. I'm very excited to be here because first time in Manchester. I'm very happy.
Incredible crowds out there today, and we normally see you running marathons. You're reserve for Paris, so you don't know yet whether you might or might not go. What happens next for you? Where are you racing next?
Yeah, still my mind in Paris. Yeah, it's Ethiopian selected number 4 in the reserve. I hope so. I'm selected in Paris. Paris is not selected, maybe next September. I asked for my manager and my coach. We will see.
Okay, well, the form you showed today, I'm sure you're showing the selectors. You are in brilliant form. Congratulations on that victory out there. The first Ethiopian woman since Dibaba in 2018 as well. And the crowds really loved that one, as they do all these elite athletes coming down here. So Andrew Cotter can now talk us fully through the results.
Yeah, 2 very good races, actually 2 very clear winners though. In the women's, it was Gotoitum Gebrselassie taking it, say just well, 30 seconds exactly ahead of Kali Hauger Thackerley. A wonderful run to split the 2 Ethiopians, the 2 world marathon champions of the last 2 world championships. Pontypridd's Clara Evans coming through to take 4th place just ahead of Betsy Saina, who didn't have her best day. Great run though by Clara Evans. And in the men's, as we have just seen, well, it was Vincent N'Getich doing as Gebrselassie did in the women's race and really starting to separate himself from the rest after about 4 or 5K. Jack Rayner showing that drive in the finish to hang on to 2nd place, and it was Bashir Abdi who just got it ahead of Adel Mashal, given the same time, 27:46, but Bashir Abdi down to fractions of a second. Emil Carres in 5th place. Again, he's really focused on the marathon Paris later this year. And much earlier today, it was John Boy Smith who took the victory ahead of Mike McCabe. So those 2 were just about together, but John Boy Smith took the victory ahead, obviously 22:31 to Mike McCabe's 22:35. So they were the 1-2. Botello was in 3rd place, Josh Landman 4th, and Tian Bosch in 5th place. So again, I'll talk about the conditions for those setting off. You can see them setting off in the background, all the waves going off in their 10K, but these are still very, very high quality 10K runners coming home. Army being represented. Actually, that angle just about shows you the slight ramp up to the finish line. And that's just adrenaline carrying you through. And the contrast between those coming home and those just setting off on the 10K adventure. You've got almost 30,000 athletes in total if you combine the half marathon and the 10K. The 10K has been going since 2003, the half marathon much more recent, 2017. But again, the effort that's been put in, and these are 33 and a half minute runners. Fantastic effort by one and all, and some even more so than others.
Yeah, it really shows off the best of the city of Manchester, and it's been great to see this event grow and grow over the years, and the amount of people getting out there early this morning to make sure they were in the right position along the route to support and cheer on friends, family, and just be a part of the atmosphere out today. And the runners will be extremely grateful for that as well.
Very good club runners. See the vests of various clubs. The Vale Royal coming through there, near enough local club, but there we are, out and back on this 10K.
Well, I'm delighted to say that Vincent Ngetic, the winner of the men's elite, is alongside me. 1 minute you're sprinting past me, now you stood here looking fully composed and relaxed. You made that look very straightforward today. Did it go completely to plan?
Today it was very nice to me to run a PP. This is my first time to run a 10K PP, because when I was not being selected to Olympics, so I go to train hard and I say I must run another PP for me. So next time I'm going to go to prepare for my marathon, and then I want to beat my PP again in marathon, so that I can be recognized somewhere else before.
And of course, the competition is so great in Kenya. You won't be running the marathon in Paris for Kenya. So what does the rest of the year look like for you?
So for me, I was not selected for the Paris because of many, I don't know why, but I'm really focused now to go to perform well in another marathon. So maybe I'll be racing in Chicago or New York, so I want to go and beat my PP there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vincent. I'm glad you enjoyed it out there. And as you can see, slightly changeable weather conditions. The rain just coming in a little bit more. And those runners there, you can see in the middle of what are 10Ks out there on the streets right now. More elite athletes, though, alongside me. I'm delighted to say Great Britain's trio who are running out there today, who will be in Paris running the marathon, are alongside me. First of all, Callie, I'll come to you. That was a fantastic run from you today. You're all beaming smiles. That went to plan.
Thank you, Gabby. Yeah, no, it was a good one. I really like this race a lot. I mean, did it for the first time last year, so I kind of like remembered the last few miles, and I know they're good. They're hard, but I try to save a bit for the last bit.
As with so many of the elite men's and women's field, there are a lot of marathon runners out there today, running the much shorter distance of 10K. And obviously, you know, your training involves intense, shorter sessions as well as those really long runs. How enjoyable is it to race over a shorter distance?
It's so nice. It's like a fraction of the distance, so it's nice to come down in distance a little bit and test your speed as well. I just think it's important.
And Rose, alongside you there, you are the most incredible story, aren't you? You know, if people don't know at home, Rose was a solicitor, and during lockdown, upped you running a little bit, decided that you needed to do a bit more when your job no longer existed because of COVID, and here you are, going to an Olympic Games for Great Britain. Congratulations on that, and congratulations all of you for that confirmation, by the way. Tell us what it was like for you out there today and running a 10K.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's very much the start of my marathon block, and I'm training for Paris, so not too much specific 10K training. But as Callie said, it's great to just test the speed. I have to say 10K is not my favourite distance. I am marathon through and through, but it's a good way to kind of break up the training and just get out there. And the atmosphere is awesome, so
yeah,
it's a really fun day.
And to have these crowds out here on what's been kind of a changeable weather day as well, giving their support must be great.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it so much fun.
Yeah, and Emile, last time I spoke to you, it was the finish of the London Marathon. You said, yeah, that's it, job done. Going to Paris. I mean, it hadn't been quite confirmed at that point, but it is now. How's it going for you?
Yeah, not bad. I'm just building back after London. I've only done a few weeks training, so yeah, I wasn't expecting much or confident today, so I was happy with that performance.
Yeah, that's all kind of going to plan, is it, for you?
Yeah, like I'm injury-free and healthy, so that's all I can ask for.
And tell us, you know, from now until Paris, it's not long. Is the racing over? Will you just now be focusing on your own training programs?
Personally, I'm hoping to do Rome, go to Rome for Europeans and do the half marathon, and then I think that one will be my last race, yeah.
And then we will see you in Paris.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Guys, I'm glad to see you all smiling, injury-free, looking great, and giving the crowds lots to cheer about today. Well, it really is a festival of running, isn't it, out there on the streets of Manchester today, and along the way showcasing the rich heritage of this magnificent city.
It's a busy morning in Manchester.
It's a city with a splendid tradition.
What made Manchester unique was industry, under which Manchester grew to be the, for a time, greatest city in the world.
Life is full of challenges, but if you can run and get through things, you're really setting a metaphor for life.
There'll be some sore legs this week in Manchester, I'm pretty sure, but lots of happy hearts.
I love the city. It was just an amazing atmosphere.
A memorable day in Manchester's history.
The centre of a new civilization. What Manchester thinks today, England thinks tomorrow.
Let's show Manchester what it's done properly.
Yeah, what an amazing day we've had already today. And in our second hour, we turn our attention to you, the people of Manchester and beyond, who are out there running for a range of different reasons, raising money for great causes as well, with fantastic stories.